think Ron pretty much just took care of my whole speech, so that'll be all for me. Thank you very much. So I've heard from the speakers that you guys have been a really awesome audience tonight. So we're going to test that and see if it's true. And what I want you to do is we're going to start by talking about dreams. I want you to turn to the person next to you and tell them a dream you have for your life. Go ahead. All right, you guys ready for part two? Turn to the person on the other side, and I want you to tell them an even bigger dream you have for your life. Go ahead. All right. So now I have a question for you. Why did you not say that second dream first? So when I was telling my mother, hi Mom, she's right there. When I was telling her what I was speaking on tonight, she said, that's a very interesting topic. It's kind of weird because the phrase is incomplete. And I said, you know what, Mom? Like most things in life, you're right. Abundance of what? What do you have abundance of? Well, for me, the exhilarating thing about the topic of abundance is you get to fill in the blank. You get to choose what to have an abundance of because you get to pick your life dreams. So Ron kind of started touching on it. I have what some people might call an addiction. Some people call it extremism. My mom and my dad sometimes call it hard to deal with, but they also love it about me, I know this. I call it a zest for life. So I'm 24. By the time I was 21, I was one of the first people in my family to speak a foreign language. By 22, I had raised over $35,000 to help house a family through Habitat for Humanity, and I had graduated college debt-free. Yeah! That's a good feeling. By the time I was 23, I not only kayaked in Antarctica, but I swam in Antarctic waters. And I was hired in to run a company. By the time I was 24, I had saved my best friend's life. And before 25, so in this year, I'm still 24, I had summited Mount Kilimanjaro, and those 130,000 cans I collected eco-funded the trip. So the money I got for recycling those in Indianapolis paid for this trip, and I would not be doing this project justice if I didn't get a shout out to Megan. There she is, who did the project with me, so applause for Megan, yeah. We're gonna touch a little bit more on that process a little bit later. So all of these experiences have been quite wonderful, and at times in my life, I didn't actually feel comfortable sharing them with people. I shied away for various reasons. I didn't want to make people feel insecure. I was very concerned about coming across as conceited or arrogant. And so I had to process why that was. And what it really came down to is what Marianne Williamson has been quoted here saying, that oftentimes our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is what we can truly become. It is that giant potential that we have in front of us that we are scared to show. And sometimes sharing that story can be intimidating because we're afraid about how other people might react. Maybe they'll laugh at our dreams. Maybe they don't want to hear about what we've done. But the thing is, when people react like that, those are the people who need to hear that story the most. Because their reaction that may be so negative to you is not your insecurities. It is theirs being shown to your story. And the thing about it is they need to see what it looks like to be abundant. They need to see courage. Going after your dreams is not an easy task. And they need to see in somebody else what that looks like because it inadvertently gives you are giving them permission to be themselves, to chase after their own dreams. And you are a walking example of what that can look like. So I thought about this. What am I doing differently? What is taking me to Antarctica? What is taking me to climb Kilimanjaro? And why aren't other 24-year-olds necessarily doing the same thing? I've met plenty of people, tons of people who are smarter than me. I've met plenty of people who are funnier than me. Maybe they can run faster. There's pretty much nothing that I'm the best at. But what I am doing is I'm living beyond my limits. And the important takeaway, if you take away one thing from this speech today, what I want you to know is that I live beyond my limits, but you can too. So, the thing about living beyond limits is this. It's not easy, it's not glamorous, and it takes a lot of work. People love to publicize overnight successes. The Keurig, people love that. It's an awesome invention. It's so new and so edgy. The patent for that was filed in the 1980s. So that kind of gives you some perspective. We're a little bit distant from the 1980s to consider that an overnight success. If you were born in the 80s or before, you're still young. Don't worry about it. But what you need to know about that, yes, that was because my mom is sitting in front of me. But what you need to know about that is this, that abundance takes perspective, it takes persistence, and it takes sacrifice. So let's dive a little deeper into each one of those, starting with perspective. It's easy to come up with a million reasons why you can't do something. I couldn't possibly make the Olympics. I'm way too old for that. I live in a world with a glass ceiling for women. There's no way I could run a multinational company. The world's not set up for me to have that path. Make it easy. How about an Indianapolis favorite? I couldn't go outside. It's impossibly cold. The thing about impossible is it actually spells I'm possible, as Audrey Hepburn would say, and that I also endorse. So how can you start to engage that mentality? In order to explain that point, I'm going to bring in a little bit of math. I don't want that to intimidate anybody. I'll try and keep it simple and quick. So let's start by looking at game theory. And this is all about perspective. Zero-sum games. You win or you lose. You get 1 point for winning, you get -1 for losing. Together, that adds up to 0. Good, you guys are so good. This is a smart audience, I love that. But how about, 0 to me, that says something that's not abundance. 0 is the absence, right? I don't want something that's not abundant. That's not exactly why I was chosen to speak tonight. So let's talk about non-zero-sum games. You have more options. You can win and still get a point. You could still lose and get a -1, but what if you and what if we could both win? Now, is my sum different than 0? Yeah, that's good. So if we can start approaching situations in a mutually beneficial way, we can have really effective outcomes. This is a picture of me after Antarctica. The man in the t-shirt's name is Sir Robert Swan. He was the first person to trek to both poles. He walked to the North Pole and to the South Pole. Very dramatic, daring stories, and he was the one who led the trip I went on to Antarctica. Now, the thing about Antarctica is I'm a young professional, so I love to travel. Antarctica sounded pretty cool, it sounded exotic, but I'm also a young professional, so I hate to pay for those kind of things. And so I had to think, how can I go to Antarctica and not pay for going to Antarctica? This is literally my mindset. So I thought, all right, Sir Robert Swan, he has a pretty awesome story, and he's looking to expand his speaking circuit. He's looking to book gigs for audiences that he hasn't spoken to previously. I recently graduated from Indiana University. Go Hoosiers. Thank you. And they're always looking to bring awesome, engaging speakers for their student body. So they might want to book him. I figured if I could be the agent, the one who connected the two, the funds that would go to that he would be earning for coming could also go to covering my trip, and everybody would be in a win-win-win situation. Non-zero-sum game. Everybody was excited. They agreed to it. They were in. 2 weeks before that, though, which happened to be after I already went to Antarctica, they decided they weren't in. And the university and the speaker both tried to back out on me. Let me tell you, felt like a zero-sum game. In fact, that almost stuck me with a $15,000 bill that I wasn't expecting to pay, so it really felt like a negative $15,000 sum game. I took the needed 24 hours to not go to my email and start typing my initial thoughts, which is a coping mechanism that I recommend to everybody. And then I went back to the drawing board and thought, okay, we need to remind everybody why this was a victory for all involved. Can we get back to the root cause of what we were doing this for? Once everybody was reminded about why they were in, The university recommitted, the speaker recommitted, and we were able to pull off the speech as a success. That applause was what I was hearing in my head when I got the recommittance from both of them and thought about my bank account too. So the next thing that we want to talk about is how abundance takes persistence. How does it feel when you hear no? Good? Anybody like hearing no? I don't like hearing no. And I still recommend trying to ask questions where you get the no answer, because the thing about no is this. When someone gives you a no, they're telling you what you need to get a yes. No is very informative. It's somebody else saying, in this situation, my needs are not met. And so if you can think, how can I meet those needs based on the stories that we were discussing before, then you can start to engage for what the yes would become. When I was in high school, there was a sunroom connected to the cafeteria that was not being used. And it seemed ridiculous. If we could put seating out there, we could eat outside during lunch. A bunch of high schoolers who are squirrely in the classroom, this seemed like a no-brainer, give us some fresh air. I decided that I was going to petition the administration to get the seating out there. A lot of those people were thinking, many people have already tried this, why are you even trying? Everybody got the answer no. I went in there, and I also got a no. And so I went back, explained this to my family, who gave me some really good advice on how to address a lot of those concerns, and I went back, and I got another no. And I continued to get no's. In fact, I got 8 no's, and I'm pretty sure the only reason I got a yes was because the principal was tired of seeing me in his office. But the thing about that was he didn't know who he was dealing with. So he said, yes, if you can raise the money, you can get the seating out there. So 4,500 candy bar sales later, I was the first one called, I was called out of English class to be the first one to sit in the newly installed outdoor furniture. Pretty much everybody in my high school knows me as Candy Girl. They don't know me as Christina, so it's only weird if it doesn't work. Now is for the most fun part of the speech. Now it's for the most fun part of the speech, which is work. Abundance is something that we all assume is just given to us, right? You're born into a family lottery and you're given this great family. You have an abundance of material things and they're just like awesome and just show up on your door one day. You know, you just think it's like maybe trick-or-treating, and then it just all appears. Unfortunately, that is never the case. The thing that you need to know about your dream is that you are going to give up things to get your dream. In order to climb a mountain, you will spend some of your Friday nights strategizing with your friends what to do and training what to do for your business plan to get you there instead of going out with a lot of your other friends. In fact, you might even find yourself at the Indianapolis 500 diving into the cans that your other friends who are in the snake pit may have vomited in to get your cans out so you can recycle them. We tried to avoid them, but there were some close calls there. So when you're thinking about everything that it takes, and when you're talking about, yeah, I climbed Kilimanjaro, you think it looks like this. 6 beautiful people, right? That was a good-looking crowd, right? Yeah. This is because it was the first day of the trip. We hadn't had 7 days of no showering yet, so, and they're all excited, we're energized, we're ready to go, and people see this and they're like, yeah, they looked like that from the starting point to the top of the mountain. We looked a little bit more like this. If you'll notice here, right in the blurry front, that's probably my favorite expression of, you have got to be kidding me, when is this gonna be over? 5 of the 6 of us would actually be affected by altitude sickness that would lead to vomiting, splitting headaches, and by the time we got to the summit of Mount Kilimanjaro, it was a matter of 10 minutes before we were all sprinting back down to get oxygen, because one thing that we did not have was abundance of oxygen at the top of the mountain. However, standing on top and realizing all the work that my team had put in, all the tough decisions we had made to collect 130,000 cans and make a difference in Indianapolis, and reforest areas of Mount Kilimanjaro, and work for 5 months to train to get to that point right there, made me the most abundantly rich person in the world. And it was worth all of the sacrifices that I made. So my encouragement to you today is to remember that living without limits is not easy. It takes perspective, it takes persistence, and it takes sacrifice. But if you want it, you can have it. Just choose what that blank is. An abundance of what? What do you want in your life? And be ready to take the sacrifice and make the change. It'll all be worth it. Thank you.